So, in a few seconds, I'm going to reveal the biggest tax write-offs you can take as an LLC. Because without them, you are guaranteed to overpay on your taxes. Now, this video is for those who already have an LLC, who may be thinking about starting an LLC, and finally, for those who smashed the like button for the YouTube algorithm. Thank you in advance. Now, let's get into the list. Okay, so first on the list is startup and organizational costs. This write-off allows you to write off $5,000 in startup costs and then $5,000 in something called organizational costs. And yes, they're different. Startup costs include all costs incurred to get your business up and running. Examples include things like the money spent to research your business, or getting an office, ordering business cards, training yourself and your staff, and everything in between. Then there's organizational costs, and these are costs to incorporate your LLC, such as legal fees and state fees. Now, say your startup costs are more than $50,000. Then your allowable deduction will be reduced dollar for dollar after $50,000. And if you spend $55,000 or more, the deduction disappears completely. But any remaining costs after the deduction is taken must be amortized over the next 15 years. Okay, number 2 on the list is office expenses and technology. Yes, expenses for your office and technology can be written off. And common office expenses include things like desks, office chairs, computers, fax machines. Is anybody still using those? And more. And common work-related technology expenses may include software like your CRM or maybe even Google Suite. So, need a new computer or iPad for your business? Write it off. Number 3 on the list, business meals. Now, a big thank you to the Consolidated Appropriations Act that went into effect December 27th of 2020. That made business-related meals that you eat at restaurants 100% deductible. And that's until the end of this year. And if not purchased at a restaurant, you can write off 50% of the business-related meal. Now, notice I continue to emphasize business-related meals because as tempting as it may seem, you cannot write off personal meals. So common business-related meal expenses include the following: meals with the client, meals while traveling for business, meals provided for a company meeting, and even treating your employees to a meal. In short, if the meal is provided while business is being conducted, you can write it off. Number 4 on the list, and one of my personal favorites, business travel. All expenses related to business travel can be written off. This includes the cost of your ticket, your hotel, your rental car, or Uber, dry cleaning, tips, and more. And in the instance that your business trip turns into a vacation, you can only write off the portion of the trip that was for business. And for your trip to qualify as a business trip, your trip must meet the following criteria. First, the trip must be necessary for business. Second, the trip must be in a different city than your business address. And third, you must travel for more than a normal workday, and it must include lodging. By the way, if you want a complete guide on how to write off business travel, I'm going to link a video in the description. All right, number 5 is the home office deduction. Look, more than 50% of all businesses in the United States are now home-based. And if you typically use a part of your home exclusively for business, you can write off the expenses related to the business use of your home. And not only can homeowners take advantage of the home office deduction, people who rent can also take advantage of this deduction. So, what are the common home office deductions you can take for your business? Well, we have utilities like internet and electricity. How about those HOA fees, mortgage insurance, and interest, as well as homeowners insurance or even renters insurance? So, how do you claim this deduction? Well, you have two choices: the regular method and the simplified method. The regular method requires you to calculate the square footage of your home that you use for business. So, for example, if your home is 1,000 square feet and you use 200 square feet for your home office, you would be able to write off 20% of the expenses. Now, with the simplified method, you can take a deduction up to $5 per square foot, up to 300 square feet. So if you want to skip the calculations, the simplified method is the easiest way. Number 6, phone expenses. Any phone used for business can be a tax write-off, and you're allowed to write off both the phone and the cost of the phone plan. And say you happen to use your phone for both personal and business use. No need to worry. Simply calculate the percentage of your phone that you use for business and multiply it by your phone expenses. That will get you your allowable tax write-off. Number 7, business interest and bank fees. If you've taken out a loan or credit for your business, there's a very good chance that you're paying interest. Luckily, you can write off your interest charges on business loans and business credit cards. In addition, any extra fees from the bank are also deductible. This includes monthly account fees, annual credit card fees, and those pesky late charges. Number 8 on the list, cost of goods. If you have a physical product or even a digital product, you can write off the entire cost associated with making or acquiring that good. So, common cost of goods sold include raw materials, packaging costs, supply costs, equipment costs, shipping costs, storage costs, commission or affiliate costs, and overhead costs related to the production of that product. And depending on your industry, your cost of goods can look different. But the key here is to include all expenses to create your product or your service when looking for tax write-offs. Number 9, vehicles used for business. Now, here's a write-off that all business owners love, because if you use your car for business, expenses related to that vehicle can be written off. And there are 2 ways to write off a vehicle. And the best method for you will be the method that gets you the biggest tax write-off. The first method is by using the standard mileage rate. When you use the standard mileage rate, you multiply the miles you drive for business by the standard mileage rate. And for the final 6 months of 2022, the standard mileage rate is 62.5 cents per mile, which is actually 4 cents more than it was at the beginning of the year. So if you drove 1,000 miles for business in 2022, you would multiply that by 62.5 cents to get a total deduction of $625. Now, the second method is to use something called the actual expense method. When you use the actual expense method, you track all expenses related to business use, like your gas, your insurance, repairs, and any other related expenses, and then multiply that by the percentage of miles driven for business. So if you have $5,000 worth of business vehicle expenses and you use your car 20% of the time for business, you would multiply your $5,000 of expenses by the 20% used for business to get a total deduction of $1,000. But regardless of the method that you choose, you're going to want to keep detailed records. And I actually made a video that goes very deep into writing off your vehicle and basically tells you everything you need to know. So go ahead and watch it after this video. Number 10 on the list is legal and professional services. Any legal or professional services that are needed to run your business can be written off. Examples may include legal fees, consulting fees, accounting fees, and even coaching. And depending on your industry, those services can look very different. For example, for an Airbnb business, professional cleaning would definitely be an acceptable write-off. But if any of these fees include personal and business use, be sure to only write off the percentage of expenses used for business. All right, number 11, salaries and benefits. You can generally write off the salaries and the benefits that you pay to employees if they meet the following criteria. 1, the employee is not a member of the LLC. 2, the salary paid is ordinary, reasonable, and necessary. And number 3, the employee actually accrues time in that period. All right, number 12 on the list, work clothes. Look, you may be able to write off your clothing if it's necessary and ordinary for your business. But here's a caveat. It can be tricky. But a big rule of thumb is that if your uniform or clothing can be worn outside of work, it's likely not tax deductible. This means that you can't write off a suit for your business because suits are generally acceptable to be worn outside of work. But here are a few examples of tax deductible clothing. Protective clothing, such as safety boots or masks. Uniforms with your company logo. Hint, hint, that's a cheat code. And costumes. There you have it, the 12 biggest tax write-offs for LLCs. Look, I truly hope this helped someone today. If it did, do me a favor, go ahead and hit that like button for me. It helps others to find this video on YouTube, and subscribe to the channel for more videos that help you save on taxes and increase your wealth. I placed a few videos on the screen I think you should watch next. Be sure to check them out. And as always, I'm Karan from Life Accounting, and I'll see you in the next video.